Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. My name is Emma and I make crochet and knitting tutorials here on YouTube. So for today's video we are going to be making this lovely knitted hat. And you can see two examples of the hat here. On the left we have the blue version, and then on the right we have this kind of purple, green and white version there. And all these pictures obviously can be seen on my Instagram, which is linked up there on top. So this is a beginner's tutorial. So if you've never knitted before, I go through everything that a beginner needs to know in this video. And then also if you are an experienced knitter, this will be a very simple tutorial for you. So please do come along as well. So the first thing we're going to need for this hat is our yarn, of course. So I chose 3 different colors of yarn, and I would recommend you do the same. So 3 different colors, and you're going to need about 50 grams of each color of yarn. Now each type of yarn that you choose, it should be in and around a DK or an Aran weight yarn. And a DK is a yarn weight 3 and an Aran weight yarn is a yarn weight 4. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you have like a mixture of these kind of yarns, so if you have a DK and an Aran and a DK or whatever, but as long as the 3 yarns are in and around a DK or an Aran weight yarn, that is the most important thing, okay? Just to make sure our hat isn't too chunky or it's too light either. Okay, so that's what you're going to need in terms of yarn. And then in terms of other materials, we are going to need, of course, a scissors. We're going to need a tapestry needle, which is quite a large needle. And you're going to want to make sure, and this is really important, that the space in your needle is big enough that the 3 strands of yarn will be able to fit through that space in your needle, okay? Because we're going to have to weave some bits in at the end. So it's really important that you can fit all the strands of yarn in through that space in your needle. And then the most important thing kind of probably is the needles. So we're going to need 10mm circular needles. So a circular needle basically is that kind of black cord there connecting the 2 needles. This lets us to knit in the round. And then they're going to want to be about 24 or 26 inches in length. Okay, so these are 26, but of course a 24-inch circular needle would work as well. And a measuring tape if you have it handy. It's not totally necessary for this, but if you have it, it's a great thing to have for this tutorial as well, just if you want to make sure lengths and different things. But of course you can go just by stitches either if you want. So what we're going to do now is we're going to gather all 3 strands of our yarn together. We're going to hold them together like this, and look, you can see they look so stunning together. Stunning color combo, if I do say so myself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab onto this and we're going to gather 4 armfuls of yarn. So you're going to hold onto the yarn and then just stretch your hand out. So you're going to hold it with kind of your hand, and then you're going to stretch your right hand out like so. You see that? So that's your armful of yarn. That is your 3rd armful of yarn that you can see there, and then that is your 4th. So you're just kind of pulling it through, you're kind of feeding it through your left hand and bringing it out to your right hand. So what you have at the end is essentially a kind of a big pile of yarn on the right, and then on the left you have your balls of yarn. And then in the middle, that's where we're going to start doing our slip knot, and this is how you do it. So you're going to get your yarn and you're going to create an X with your middle finger and your pointer finger. Then you're going to reach your pointer finger in, and then on the right hand kind of top corner of the X, you're going to put it underneath, and then you're going to grab the left hand corner of the X, pull it through to create kind of like a U shape, turn your fingers over, remove your 2 fingers and just pull up like so. Okay, and that's how you create your slip knot. And please feel free to play that back if you need to, or you can play it in slow motion, anything like that. But yeah, so that is how essentially you create your slip knot. And then all that you're going to do is you're going to put your needle in the loop and then tighten it onto the loop there. Now we are going to cast on. So to cast on, you're going to create a diamond shape with the 2 strands of yarn like so. So with your thumb and your pointer finger, you're going to create a diamond shape with the yarn. So then you're going to get the tip of the needle and you're going to kind of bring it underneath that strand of yarn by your thumb. And then you can see your thumb and your needle are going to be just kind of sitting next to each other there. Then you're going to kind of pivot your hand around so you are in this position here. And then what you're going to do, you're going to bring the tip of your needle, or your needle itself, through that space there. So you can see kind of like a triangular space. You're going to bring it through there, and then you're going to bring it through that kind of space near your thumb as well. So you're basically just bringing the needle towards you and going through those 2 spaces as you do so. And I'll show you here now what I mean by that. So you're going to bring it through that space there, and then you're going to bring it through the space by your thumb as well. Perfect. And then you're going to let it all go. And then you're going to pull down on that strand of yarn that's closest to you, just to tighten it there. Okay? And that's how you do a long tail cast on, but I'm going to show you again, of course. So again, you're going to create the diamond with your fingers. Then you're going to bring the needle up through the kind of space near your thumb, pivot your hands. They're going to bring it through that triangle and then bring it through that space near your thumb as well. And the needle is always coming towards you there. And then you're going to tighten it by pulling down on that strand there. So then you're going to create the diamond shape again. And your needle is going to go, oh, there we go. So that needle is going to go underneath that strand near your thumb. So underneath, bring it up, pivot your hand around. And you're going to bring it through that triangle there. Perfect. And then you're going to bring it through that space near your thumb, let it all go, and then pull down on that strand there. And you're going to do it again. So create the diamond shape, tip your needle going through that strand near your thumb, pivot your hands, through that triangle, and then through that space near your thumb as well. Perfect. Let it all go, and then pull down on the strand closest to you to tighten it. Excellent. So that is basically how you do the long tail cast on. And once you get into the flow, you'll be absolutely flying. And what we're going to do here is basically create a total of 61 cast ons. So 61 is the kind of the size of the hat that I made. But if you want a smaller hat, I would say probably go for in and around 55 to 60, anywhere in between that for the amount of cast ons that you will do. But I did 61. So if you like the size of my hat, go for that one. So when all of that is done, you're just going to lay all of your stitches out so that the stitch itself is facing inwards. And this is just going to make sure that there's no like tangling in terms of our stitches at all. So you can cut off any of the extra yarn that you had. Make sure you leave a little bit of a tail so that we can put it in at the end or sew it in at the end. So now it is time to join in the round, which creates kind of the circular shape of our hat. So you're going to have your left needle and your right needle. And what you're going to do, you're going to grab your right needle and you're going to grab that first stitch on your left needle and bring it over to the right. Brilliant. And then you're going to grab your left needle and you're going to kind of put it underneath that second stitch there. And you're going to lift it over that first stitch that we just put on, that we kind of moved over. So you're going to bring it up and over, if you can see that there. Brilliant. And you're just going to let that go there. Brilliant. So now we are all connected. You can tighten up those strands there at the bottom. You can pull them to tighten them. And that's how we join in the round. And you can get started now with your first knit stitch. So what you're going to do, you're going to get your right needle and you're going to bring it from front to back. You're going to kind of push it in from front to back like so to create an X shape with your needles. Okay, so an X shape like that. Then you're going to grab your working yarn and you're going to bring it around and through that X. Okay, you can see the way it's laying there. Okay, so through the X. And I like to hold this down by the needle like that. So I just like to hold it down to create some tension. Then I bring the back needle, so I pull it downwards and then I push it up to the front of the left needle and then I just pull it off, and that is your very first knit stitch there. So next, or the same thing again basically, so you're going to push that needle in from front to back, creating that X. Then you're going to get your yarn and you're going to bring it through the middle of the X like so. You can see it there, and I like to hold it down on that right needle. Then you're going to pull it out and push it up to the front, and then you're just going to take it off that needle, and that is your second knit stitch there. So then again, you're going to get that needle, push it from front to back, creating your X shape there. Get your working yarn and pull it through the middle of that X. Hold it there, and then you're going to bring it from the back to the front, and then you're just going to pull it off the needle. Okay, and that is essentially your knit stitch. That's all you have to do for the knit stitch, and that's essentially actually all that we have to do really for this entire tutorial. So as long as you get the hang of this, you'll be absolutely flying. So I'm going to show you a good few more times how this is done and how it looks. So push your needle from front to back, create your X, get your working yarn, loop it around the back needle to form or through the X. pull your right needle from back to front and just pull it off. Excellent. So we're going to go from front to back, bring the working yarn through the middle of that X, bring your right needle from back to front, and then just pull it off. So now that we are done, I'm kind of learning how to do the knit stitch. Now I'm going to leave you to do the rest of the knit stitches in the row. So you're going to go all the way around until you hit that, or the beginning again, essentially. And how you know it's the beginning is where our kind of those strands of yarn are coming out there. That's how you know you've hit the beginning again. Okay, so you're gonna, and that's one round done. Okay, so here is me completing one round. So you can see I've hit those kind of strands of yarn there, the ones that are hanging down. That's how I know I'm finished my first round. And then all that you do, you don't do anything differently. You just keep doing the knit stitch. Okay, so even when you hit here, so you just go in as normal, wrap it around the back needle, from the back to the front, and then take it off. And that's all you do. So the very same thing as you were doing before. But yeah, so that's how you do the knit stitch and how you go from round to round. There's nothing different, but just do keep an eye on you know, those strands, so you know what round you're on. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do now, I'm showing you those strands of yarn again. So what you're going to do now is you are going to complete 36 rounds, or until you get to about 12 inches in length. So if we're differing in terms of the weight of yarn you're using, what kind of yarn you're using, you might want to go by the inches instead of the rounds. Okay, so it might be more accurate that way. So 36 rounds or 12 inches in length. And 12 inches in length again is just when that bottom part is like unraveled. Okay, so 12 inches in total when that bottom part there is unraveled. Okay, and this is me just checking in. I think this is me after about halfway or 3/4 of the way done. But you can see the lovely knit stitches there, and how it all looks and how it comes together. And this is me actually when it is completed, and I'm just going to show you what the measurements are at this point, and what they kind of look like. So the measurements when the bottom part is kind of still raveled up like so is about 9.5 inches in length. So from top to bottom there, it's about 9.5 inches. So you can see that there. I also got a new measuring tape, if you can tell, very excited by it, because I can see the numbers on it. And then when it's unraveled, it's about 12 inches in length. So from top to bottom, about 12 inches. And then across, it's about 10.5 inches, like so on one side. So that is 21 inches in total circumference around the head. So there you go. So what you're going to do then, once you've completed all 36 rounds or 12 inches, you're going to grab a very long, you're going to grab lots of yarn, and then you're going to cut it off. But make sure you grab lots and lots and lots of yarn, because we're going to be weaving this through to create the top of the hat. So I would say probably at least an armful and a half of yarn, which is about 1.5 meters of extra yarn, and then you're just going to cut it off. Perfect. And then you're going to grab your tapestry needle with the correct size space in it to fit all 3 strands of yarn. And you're going to see the way I struggle with this. I put one in at a time, but you know, sometimes that's just what you have to do to make things work. So yeah, make sure they all fit in, and if you need to do one at a time, please do so. So remember, we're not cutting off, we're not tying off anything. We're just putting in that strand that we had there, and then we're basically going to just take all of the loops that are on the needles and we are going to thread them kind of through this strand of yarn, if that makes sense. So basically you are just going to get your needle and you're going to bring it off, or you're going to get your smaller needle and you're going to bring it off the bigger needle, and then those stitches are going to rest on this yarn, if that makes sense, but you can see it here in the video. So you're going to get your smaller needle, bring the stitches off, and then you are just going to pull them. So once you have about 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, however many I have here, and they're just going to pull the needle through. So those stitches are now resting on this yarn instead of the needle. Okay, so you're kind of like unloading all of the stitches onto this yarn instead. Okay, so you're going to do that all the way around. All the way around until every single stitch is on this yarn. Okay, so all the way around, and then I'll meet you once this has been completed. So now that all of the stitches are on this yarn, all that you're going to do is you're going to pull it tight like so. Okay, so pull it as tight as you can like this. So keep pulling as tight as you can, and perfect. So you're going to get the smallest space possible, and then we're going to sew it up from the back. Okay, so the smallest space possible. This is how small I could get it on this one. And then you're going to bring your needle and you're going to put it through that space and bring it out through the middle of the hat on the other side. Perfect. And then you are just going to flip your hat inside out, or bring that space, this kind of area closest to us, so we can stitch it all up. So now I've just double speeded this, and you know, I am no master of needlework. I'm not totally sure how to do this properly, but I literally just put a big X in the middle, and I'll do like a square and different things like that. So you can see what I'm doing there. I'm kind of just freestyle sewing. But yeah, basically all that you have to make sure is that space is closed. That space on the top of the hat is closed, and that is your main concern here. So in whatever way you have to do it, whatever kind of needlework you have to do, go for it. Perfect. And then once that's done, I kind of create a loop and I bring the end of my I bring my needle through it, and I create this kind of like knot there at the top of the hat. And then I think I do it the second time as well. Here we go. Make that nice and secure. Pull it tight, and then I'm just going to cut off the excess. Oh, this is extra tight, and then I'm doing bringing through another stitch just to secure it even more, I think. Yeah, perfect. And then you're just going to cut it off. Excellent. So now that is done, you can kind of put the hat the right side up, so you can push that in. Bring the top of the hat up. That's what it's going to look like. The hole has been closed. Perfect. Stunning. And then we have one more strand of yarn to sew in, and that's the initial one at the bottom of the hat, which is there. And so you can do this with needles, with your kind of smaller needle like this. You can put them in and sew them up, but that is quite a small end that I've left there by accident, so I'm just going to do it with a crochet hook. So basically you just put the crochet hook in, loop it around, pull it through, and do this a few different times in a few different directions, and then you should be okay. But yeah, you can do this with the needle or the crochet hook either. And I'm just trying to get all 3 strands through there. Brilliant. And then, yeah, just make sure that the strand ends up on the wrong side of the hat, so you don't see the ends coming out on the front. Perfect. And then you're just going to cut that off. And then there we go. That is the hat in its entirety. And it looks so tall here for some reason, which is so funny. It looks so tall, but it's like a normal sized hat. And then I put the other one beside it. So cute. I think this one really reminds me of like Monet, like a Monet painting. So I love it. But yeah, really easy to make. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it was easy. I hope it was, I hope you understood what to do. But yeah, it's a lovely hat, perfect for winter season. And yeah, if you do make one, please do tag me on Instagram. My name is crochetgal100 on Instagram. And of course, I would love to see all of your creations. So thank you again so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye. Summer rain on the